This is crazy. You look at the standings and you see the Cavaliers in first. I don't think there is one person in the basketball community that would predict anything like this to happen. The signs are great. Their offense is second. Their defense is sixth. Particularly the offense is what catches my eye because you expect a Cavaliers team with Allen and Mobley to be elite defensively. That is a given. They usually finish about the middle of the pack offensively. So looking at this number 2 rating, just incredible stuff. And I think there's several reasons for that. First of all, they're playing faster. You look at their pace this season. I mean, they're top 10 in pace. They were bottom third last year in pace. They went from about 97 possessions per 48 to about 100 possessions per 48. So that definitely helps them get more shots and get more chances at getting baskets here. More drives per game, about 10 more drives per game over last year. That definitely comes into play when you're looking at Mobley's game. I think he is one of the biggest beneficiaries of this new offense, this new high-octane, high-tempo offense. They're 8th in three-point attempts. That's a 16% increase over last year. So this Cavs offense overall is just more modern. You're seeing a lot of teams do this, especially the star players on some of these teams, more threes, more quick threes, and that's kind of juicing up some of these offensive ratings here. They definitely have every part of this big four here playing at a high level. So obviously Mobley is bringing a lot to the table. He's super aggressive. That's something that I noticed in those 2 Bucks games. I mean, he's not getting the ball in the mid-range and just trying to be a playmaking hub and get up threes. I mean, he's taking it to Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis. I mean, he's not backing down. He's getting shots in the paint, high quality look, high percentage looks. So that's been great for the Cavaliers. And then Jarrett Allen has been fantastic. I mean, nightly double threat, 1.4 blocks per game. He's been fantastic so far. I think Dean Wade in the starting lineup. Been interesting from a rotation standpoint. So Dean Wade brings size along with the 3-point shooting. I think that is key as well. I think Kenny Atkinson, again, is kind of displaying his prowess here. One last point I'll make before I hand it over to you, Ty, is it seems to me as though they're relying less on Donovan Mitchell than they have at any point in his tenure. You don't see them looking to him to generate some kind of look for them. It's Garland getting some good looks, shooting the lights out. I mean, well over 40% on the season. And then Mobley and Allen just finding ways to work together in tandem has been so impressive. You know, the role players have been great as well. Sam Merrill has had some great minutes here. Karis LeVert doing what he does off the bench. So they're getting contributions from across the roster, and it's giving them wins here so far. So
I think I had some questions about the Cavs, mostly because their last season was so strange. I mean, they were relatively healthy, and it felt like kind of stuck in the doldrums. And then around, like, I think when the year flipped, January-ish, is they had players in and out of the lineup, and it felt like they didn't have their whole team, and they kind of just tore off a ton of wins. And I don't know if something just clicked then for the players or what, but I wanted to see this year, okay, what do the big four look like? Are they going to be able to build off of the strong play, or is it going to go back into the inconsistent play? And I think Atkinson, to your point, their new coach, has done a good job putting them in better positions. But I think the number one thing for me with the Cavs, and this has been something that, talked about with Cavs people for a while, like what is the leap for Mobley if it happens? What does that mean for them? And, I think going back to last season, when I would talk to people around the Cavs, it's like, that's really what they need, right? Like Max Strus was a nice addition. He hasn't even played yet, by the way. So that's really impressive that they've won all those games without him. Nice addition, but that he's a nice role player, right? They need someone else outside of Garland and Mitchell who can really be taking a load off of them and just shifting how the floor looks. I think, last season, although they had a great season at the end of the day, I think it was probably a little bit too much of just those two guys alternating possessions, and then one of them kind of stands there, and then, the rest of the floor is what it is. I think being able to give Mobley so many shots and let him actually create as a big wing hub, basically, versus just out of the post, but really, bring the ball up sometimes and create, then that just makes it so much harder to guard them. Because their issue, it felt like, was you got Mobley and Allen. If all the small guards, Mitchell and Garland, are on the ball all the time, like, how do you space the floor? If Mobley's not going to be a great shooter, Allen hasn't even shot a 3 yet this year. They're just kind of in the way. Now that you're tilting the floor differently, Mobley's having the ball more, and you have to respect him more on it. It just feels like everything is opened up for them. They're faster. They're shooting more threes. I still think their wing rotation outside of the starters is a little shaky to me, but I think they're just going to be so good with their primary core players. And now with Mobley playing the way he's playing, nearly scoring as much per game as Garland, 17.6 to 20.5 points per game, that I just think they're so much harder to guard. They're so much less stagnant than they were a year ago. And defensively, they're still just really good because, when you have the base of Allen at the rim and Mobley as the helper, you're just going to be it's going to be hard to score. You're going to have a great base defense there. So I'm not shocked they're winning. I wasn't totally sold on them, but they've clearly proved me wrong pretty quickly. Also, shout out to Ty Jerome, who I think is doing remarkable work as kind of their third ball handling guard, or fourth if you count LeVert. I think that was kind of underrated, his injuries last year for them, and he's been pretty helpful so far.